just look extra cute, no one will even notice that I was 5 minutes late. No one's ever even gonna know. They're never gonna know. There's my chat box. Get over here, you. Let's make this chat box way bigger. You can load chat. I believe in you. These things take time. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Good news? No starting soon. Oh my God, why is starting soon so hard to say? Because I never do it. No starting soon screen. Bad news. Some of you have been waiting for 5 minutes and no Lauren. More good news. Some of you were not here on time. And now you're just rolling up and you're like, oh, thank God. Nothing has happened without me. I couldn't find fake Broken Stanley. You guys remember fake Broken Stanley. It's not a real Stanley, and that is why it is broken. But keeps my water nice and cold. Yes, Papa Man Bear video. I can see you. Loud and clear. So, we have quite the story today. This is actually one that I promised I would read in an earlier stream when I was reading Am I the A-Hole stories and things like that. And then I didn't. And I thought it was okay. It was not okay. People immediately started calling me out in the chat. Not like too many people, but enough where they were like, please don't say you're going to cover a story and then don't cover that story. I was waiting the entire stream for that story. So then I went back to find it, and of course, it's been deleted from Reddit. Fortunately, past tense Lauren screenshot all of it when I first saw it. So even though I could not find it, I do still have it. So we'll get right into it. Let's see. Oh yeah. We have quite a few of you here. I think that now is a fair time to start. So this was a story that was posted to r/relationship advice by a user named funpomegranate5405. And I believe the account is still up. Let me see if I can find the original link that I had. Yeah, so the post has been deleted, but we can still check out all the comments if anyone would like to do that. Oh, snap. Living _ just sent a super chat, so that's going to pop up in a minute, but let me start reading it now. I sent a super chat a few weeks back saying I was about to get fired. Well, I got a bonus and a raise instead, but I'm still about to get fired. Oh my God. That super chat comment was such a roller coaster. I was like, oh, good. Oh no. Oh, yay. Oh, I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel about your situation, but the username checks out. You're still living. That's truly living life to the fullest too. Embracing all of the ups and downs. Man, my hair is a hot mess today. I'm sure you guys don't even give a shit, and I'm just like thinking way too much about it. But yeah, I worked out this morning and I just did a quick thing. I didn't care that much. It's fine. It's fine. We'll move past it. There it is. Oh yeah, I can move my alerts now. I put them in the center because husband Vikit was here. But now I can move them back here. Okay. Do you want the good news or the bad news? Living. Yes. All right. Strap up. Strap on. This one's kind of a long one. And pretty dark. We've read some where it seemed like it was almost an irreparable issue, and yet the couples were able to work it out. Personally, I don't like to opt for immediate divorce, so I do try to look at situations through the lens of what is still salvageable here. This one, though, this one's gonna be tough to come back from, I think, and I'll just get right into it. This Reddit post reads, I, 35-year-old female, did not defend my husband, 36-year-old male, of false DV allegations made by my quote-unquote friends. I think my marriage is over. How do I fix this? Let me zoom out a little bit here, actually. This might be a long post. I'm at a loss on what I should do. I met my husband when I was 20 at a gym. I was trying to lose some weight. He eventually noticed that I was sticking to my New Year's resolution. 2 months later, we were dating. I learned that he was from Indiana and he had been stationed in Texas for just over 2 years at that point. Eventually, he met my family and my parents instantly liked him. My 2 younger sisters took a bit longer to woo over, but my older brother and him clashed over sports and loved to trash talk each other. So all in all, my family loved him. He was incredibly patient and kept me motivated not only at the gym but in school as well. He had to work late on his birthday, 9 p.m., so I took him out to Buffalo Wild Wings for his birthday and we had a great time. I'd also set up a surprise birthday party for him the next day, his actual birthday. Nothing extravagant, but his 2 roommates, the lady I thought he was dating and another coworker of theirs, were immediately on board and had told him they were going on a couples trip for the weekend. My family wanted to come be there for the surprise and cake before heading home and a handful of other friends. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm in the right... Okay. Here we go. Everything was in place, and the plan was that I would hide behind the door and jump on his back and cover his eyes. Then the lights would come on and everyone would yell. Looking back, that was such a dumb idea, but it sounded funny at the time. I heard his truck pull into the drive and everyone hid. It was almost pitch black in the house. He opens the door and shuts it and takes a few steps, and I jump on his back. Everything happened so fast. I was immediately flipped over and slammed onto the ground as the lights came on. I felt a sharp, intense pain in my shoulder and my ears were ringing. He was horrified at what happened, and my brother and dad started yelling at him. He was trying to help, and my brother and his roommates had to get between him and my father and brother. He just kept apologizing to me. So we spent his birthday in the ER. I had a separated shoulder and a broken collarbone. I was initially furious at him for doing that and didn't want him around me. So he sat in the waiting room. By then, my brother and father had calmed down and realized it for what it was. What was he supposed to think, walking into his house, believing it would be empty, and get jumped on from behind? Eventually, I agreed to let him come back, and he immediately started to cry, telling me how sorry he was and that he would never, ever do that to me again. So before we keep reading, just to, reiterate and repaint the scene here. She plans a surprise birthday party that entails him coming home to presumably a pitch black, empty house. And as soon as he walks in, the plan is that she immediately jumps on his back and covers his eyes from behind. And everyone was on board with this. Not the father, not the brother, not any of the sisters, not the mom, not any of her friends. None of these people were like, honey, he might flip you over and break your bones. Like, no one told her that that was a possibility. And then we immediately have the victim mindset of like, how dare you? Like, you're in your 30s. You don't know that people protect themselves when in survival mode by now. I mean, I can't say with absolute certainty what I would do if I walked home to a house that I thought would be empty and someone jumped me, but the most probable likelihood is that they would get hurt, to be honest. I mean, clearly these people don't have dogs, because forget what I would do. If you try to jump me when I first walk into my house and my dogs are there, you're gonna have some flesh wounds, my guy. Like, that's not gonna be a good time for you. Has anybody ever had something like this happen to you? Where, like, it was supposed to be a surprise, but it went awry? I'm not even done with the story yet, either. I know I have a super chat coming, so I don't want it to be too interrupted. But alright. I'm gonna at least get to the next sentence. So we're in the hospital now. She has a separated shoulder, which hurts like a mother, and a broken collarbone. So she is in some pain. I will say that. So some initial frustration over the situation is perfectly understandable. But at the same time, even in that pain, you have to kind of be like, I just should have seen that one coming. Like, okay. Someone's like, please finish the story. I want to make this clear to everyone reading this. This was in no way his fault. Hold on, here's the super chat before I finish. Not only does she do that, but he's been in the military and has presumably been through hand-to-hand combat training. I read that all so fast. I was like, wait, was he in the military? Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Oh my god. I don't know why I didn't even think about that. But yeah, if you're in the military, absolutely you have been introduced to all kinds of combat training, martial arts, reacting in such a situation. It's almost like built into your bloodstream at that point. I want to make this clear to everyone reading this. This was in no way his fault. It was a natural reaction, and I wish I had never jumped on his back. He struggled more than I did to put this behind us, but I kept up with my schoolwork and we continued to grow close over the next year. I would listen to him vent about work, and he would do the same for me and my schoolwork. We went on weekend trips, sometimes just us, and sometimes with friends. Sorry I'm trying to keep this short, but I have so many happy memories that I want to share, but I'll get to the reason why I'm posting this. Eventually he asked me to marry him, and it was a no-brainer. He was and still is the love of my life and the only man for me. We got married in a small ceremony with family and a few friends. When his second enlistment ended, we decided the opportunity for him as a civilian air traffic controller was too good to pass up. It was hard for him to say goodbye to the Air Force, but he wanted us to finally settle down. We had a move between our wedding and when he finally left the service. By then I was working and we had a very large amount saved up. As he waited to find out where the FAA wanted him to go, we stayed with my brother and his wife back in my hometown. Eventually he got the email, and to our surprise, he would be working fairly close to where we already were. He knew how much I had missed my hometown, so we decided to buy a house, and he would commute almost an hour and a half each way. It is a huge sacrifice on his part. Sorry, I think my screenshots got out of order, so I have to scroll up a little bit. 2020 happened, and I lost my job, but my husband made more than enough to cover my lost wages. We weren't getting any younger and decided to start a family. It took a bit, but eventually I got pregnant, and we have a wonderful 2-year-old son. First year was a struggle for us both as we tried to adapt to parenthood. My husband struggled more than I did, but I helped him. If you have kept up with the news, the FAA is short-staffed with not enough controllers, so my husband works mandatory overtime, and usually most shifts are 10 hours, legally the max, and each Wednesday he gets off work at 11 p.m. and has to be back to work by 8 a.m. That's a very short turnaround that would leave him with, at the most, 5 hours of sleep if he drove home. So on those nights, he sleeps at a coworker's house. He has offered to make the drive, but I don't want him driving tired or working tired either. Honestly, it did suck on those nights when he wasn't home or our son just wouldn't sleep. He encouraged me to reconnect with old friends, and I have, which leaves us with the reason for this post. Come on up, ma'am. Sorry, cat break. Just jump. Why are we pussyfooting around here? You're halfway. Are you being camera shy? Cora, just jump up onto the lap here, dude. Why did you do that? She just sunk her claws so deep into me and, like, I think tried to jump but failed, so it was just her full weight hanging on my thigh. Ooh. Oh, Lord. Sorry, I just got raked on cam. Anyway, back to the story. Cat's gonna cat. That's the facts. Everything was in place, and the plan was that. Oh wait, sorry, I skipped. I forgot that I scrolled up to one and then had to move to the other one. Okay, 2 weeks ago, I met up with some old girlfriends. There we go. By the way, quick detour. I know you guys want me to get through this story, but how do you feel about referring to adults hanging out as play dates? Do we love it? Do we hate it? Just because this reads. 2 weeks ago, I met up with some old girlfriends for a play date, i.e., watch our kids crawl around. Most of them were complaining about their husbands, fiancés, or boyfriends not helping around the house. I'm sorry, I do have to make another note. I really do hate how often socializing as a woman turns into this. Like, I don't know how many other women in the chat can agree or disagree with this, but it often feels like when you're a woman and you're going to socialize in a large group of women, like specifically moms, that's like almost always where the conversation defers to. And it's so aggravating to the point where there's like memes about it. Like our conversations when our husbands are actually behaving and it's like no one's talking. Like, annoying. It's like the only way to fit in with women is to like talk shit about the man that you're dating. And that leaves all of those of us who actually like our husbands in a situation of like either have less friends, which is the option I tend to choose, or shit talk your husband just to fit in. What the fuck? So that seems to be where she's at. I do most of the housework, but my husband has always helped me when he is home. I changed the subject and asked one of my friends I'll call Lana how often does her daughter wake up in the middle of the night. This eventually led to me telling them that my husband stays near his work on Wednesdays, and some of those nights were rough on me, especially early on. That got me a lot of sympathy, and I don't know why it felt so good to hear someone say that wasn't my family, those things that make you feel better. I keep my mouth shut when they said my husband should just suck it up and take care of his kids, and that their husbands commute 2 hours to work each way. I wanted to say, well, your husbands have the same hours every day and aren't responsible for others' lives. Instead, I just nodded in agreement. It makes me sick that I did that. My husband woke up just as much as I did and still does when our son needs him. This is another thing that I've said too. In these same circles, it feels like it turns into a competition of like whose men can suffer the most. And that's like the new bar is like, oh yeah, your husband won't, drive home a whole hour drive and therefore only get 3 hours of sleep instead of 5. Well, my husband only gets 1 hour of sleep, so he needs to man up. Like, I'm not kidding you. This is truly what it's turned into. Last week, my husband had a rare Saturday and Sunday off. My parents offered us a child-free weekend to include Thursday and Friday, and we took it. My husband was working, and I met my sister-in-law that Thursday for lunch to invite them over for dinner on Friday. I tripped on the curb and had to twist to make sure my husband didn't hit the cement. I banged my right knee pretty good. It's still purple, but not hurting as much. We wanted to have some people over for dinner and invited my older brother and sister-in-law as well as 2 of my friends from the previous week and their husbands. Hold on, I gotta once again find where I was just because I'm operating on a series of screenshots here. Here we go. Going back to getting slammed by my husband, he mentioned that he hates that story, that even if it wasn't intentional, he seriously injured me. So I stopped telling that story out of respect for him. Wait, how often are you telling this story? I don't know. If this happened to you, do you think that would be like a story you bring up a lot? Because it's not a very funny story unless you found a way to make it funny. Like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Like, this happened once where I tried to surprise him, and to my surprise, he like threw me over his shoulder and I actually got hurt. Like, if you can find a way to twist it to make it funny, I could see how maybe you would tell it more than once, but like if the story ends with your husband breaking your bones, it's probably not going to be a party classic like campfire tale that we all love to hear. If I ever broke my husband's bone, I would really hope that he's not like making sure everyone knows about it. Though someone here says it's for pity attention, which she has already admitted the sympathy feels good. And she's like just gotten a taste. She's like, I want more of that sympathy. That cleared the palate. Friday rolls around and my husband picks up everything we need to make a large pot of spaghetti and a few bottles of wine. We had been discussing trying to have another child, so I was planning on getting a bit tipsy and jumping my husband's bones after our guests left. I wore a white halter top dress that he loves. Risky to wear when eating pasta and drinking red wine, but it felt good. Our guests arrive and we all ourselves... Sorry, this is a lot of typos. Let me restart that, but I'll fix it. Our guests arrive and we all pour ourselves a glass of wine, making small talk. I noticed Lana whispering something to her husband, but ignore it, figuring maybe she liked something and was asking her husband if they could get something similar. That's a charitable interpretation. The dinner starts and everything is going well. My husband isn't a big drinker, but had went to get himself a second glass, and tongs to make getting seconds easier. I was almost done with my fourth glass, as was my sister-in-law and Lana. Ooh, okay, to be fair, I'm a lightweight. I'm about 4'11", $1.15, $1.20, and 4 glasses would have me drunk as fuck. Look, I'm honestly tipsy, like good, after a glass and a half. 4 glasses of wine, and I would be drunk. I would be drunk, to be honest. I think most women would be, unless you're like a tank of a woman. My other friend Sarah was sipping her first, and their husbands were taking it slow. My brother got a call from work and stepped into a guest room to take the call. That's when my sister-in-law asked me to tell the story of how I broke my collarbone and separated my shoulder. What's wrong with these people? Why are they like, hey, with all these women and around with their husbands, let's see if it's normal for your husband to break your bones. Like, what is this insidious plot to like tell this story? Why would you want her to tell this story? I figured since my husband was out of the room that no harm, no foul. I tell the story and I'm laughing. My sister-in-law is laughing, and Sarah and her husband seem amused. Classic, oh yeah, my husband's not here, so what bad could possibly come out of me talking mad shit about him? Lana and her husband aren't laughing. Lana reaches across the table and grabs my hand and says, I saw your knee and how bruised it is. My sister-in-law snorts as Lana continues. You said he doesn't help with your son, and now he has you believing that what he did to your shoulder was some kind of accident. Husband walks in and asks what we're talking about, and Lana tells him that she knows that he is abusing me. Sorry, YouTube has policies. Oh, shoot, I scrolled down a little bit and I didn't mean to. That he doesn't help with our son, that he obviously shoved me down and bruised my knee, that I should have left him when he broke my shoulder. My husband immediately looks at me. Sorry, I keep clicking and it's dropping. Sorry. My husband immediately looks at me and asks, what the hell did you tell her? That's when Lana's husband speaks up and tells my husband to lower his voice because he won't tolerate verbal abuse, and that if you lay a finger on her, I will beat your ass. I'm too shocked to speak and stick up for my husband. My husband didn't take kindly to that and told them, get the out of our house. Brother hears the confrontation as Lana and Sarah's husband stand between my husband and I. My husband tells them again, don't make me repeat myself. I'm not going to tolerate being called a wife beater. Get the hell out. My brother tries explaining that my husband doesn't hit me, and I just turtle like a coward. My husband is trying to calm down, and eventually my sister-in-law gets Sarah to drag her husband out of the house. Lana is still trying to keep her husband riled up. I remember my husband looking at me as if he was pleading with me to speak up for him, but I just sat there unable to do anything. I don't know why. I've never been in a situation like this before. Lana and her husband start telling me I need to leave with them so my husband doesn't hurt me. My husband flips his shit at that, and my brother-in-law had to almost tackle them. Tell them the truth. Don't walk out that door. My husband's voice was surprisingly calm, but I followed them out the door. She's leaving with these bitches? Oh my God. I was almost in the car with them when my sister-in-law, who seemed to sober up by then, pulled me back, and my brother forced Lana and her husband to finally leave. So her sister-in-law has to pull her back in from leaving. So not only are you like choked up, you can't say anything, but you're not too choked up to leave your home with these people making these accusations, which you have to know is a physical agreement that, yes, my husband is a danger to me, is what you're saying by doing that. It's not just, oh, I don't know what to say right now. By you leaving, you're agreeing that you're in danger. So the sister pulls her back inside. I get back inside and just start crying. I look at my husband and the love in his eyes is gone. He looked at me like I was a complete stranger to him. I tried to go in to hug him, and he pulled away and said he needed space. I remember telling him that perhaps he could stay with my brother. I was insulted in our home. You stood by and let your friends lie, and you didn't say a word. You walked out the door to follow them. You chose them over me. If anyone needs to leave, it's you. I'm not saying you have to leave, but I'm not saying you have to leave, but I'm not leaving our house tonight. I need time and space to think about how to move forward. This is all in quotes. It doesn't say he said, but I'm assuming that's the husband talking. My brother agreed with my husband, and I left with them. Oh, thank you, GT Woods. My brother agreed with my husband, and I left with them. My brother didn't say a word as we rode to his house. I couldn't stop crying and wondering why I let them insult my husband and our marriage like that. When we got home, my brother went off on me, asking me the same questions I'd ask myself, that my husband never did those things that my friends accused him of, and how I couldn't even, this is so poorly written, that my husband never did the things that my husband accused him of, and how I could even sleep that night. Every call and text went unanswered. I told my parents what happened. They reacted in a calmer manner, but are not happy with me right now. My family is supportive, but firmly on my husband's side, and I honestly don't blame them. I have no excuse for not defending him and trying to de-escalate the situation. My husband wants space, and I'm trying to give him that, but I miss being near him. He has stopped by every day to see our son, but he has been avoiding talking to me. It's bullshit that she took the kid. I kind of get it if she's breastfeeding, but I feel like after that, like, no, bitch, you need to pump. I'm sorry. I know that's kind of taking away from the baby at that point too, because there are a lot more scientific bonding, chemical, production benefits to breastfeeding directly from the source that you can't get from bottle feeding. But like, it's kind of bullshit that she gets to take the kid. That sucks. I got a call from him today saying that he is deeply hurt and feels betrayed, that he isn't sure if he can trust me again. He still loves me, but he needs to sort things out on his end and is considering separation. I told Lana and Sarah to f off and never contact me again. I'm so hurt and angry. Very angry at myself. I want my husband back, but I'm not sure if it's even possible. I need some advice, please. I want things to be back to normal. I want to be picked up and slung over his shoulder as he grabs my butt. I want him to kiss my stretch marks and tell me that he loves me even more for them. What can I do? How can I save my marriage? Therapy. Straight to therapy, ma'am. You need to figure out what is going on inside of you to the point where a speckle, just a little tiny nosh of victimhood made you throw away everything. Is it that you were never told no as a kid? Is it that you just got away with a lot of things as a kid? You're used to never being caught? Is that what's happening? Because throughout the story, it's like she keeps saying, acknowledging in some way, like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this is wrong. Maybe this is wrong. But of course, this is also all in hindsight, right? Throughout the, oh yeah, my husband doesn't do anything, and letting everybody talk crap about your husband, essentially, even noting that you're enjoying the feelings of everyone going like, oh, you poor thing, you deserve better, can be very addicting. But it didn't seem like you were interested in stopping. It seems like she really thought that there would never be a negative consequence ever to this. She kept saying, no harm, no foul. If he's not around, then it's okay for me to tell these stories that greatly exaggerate his neglect, his abuse toward me, and make me look like this perfect victim. What could possibly go wrong with me telling these stories to a bunch of women with like overly defensive testosterone pumped men who don't take too kindly to the thought of a husband who breaks his wife's bones? I think that enough men have heard stories from women defending guys doing this and making excuses for them to where it's much easier to say, you're lying to protect him and I'm going to kick his ass to save you. There's a lot of guys with the hero complex there who are not going to entertain this guy, especially if he's all alone trying to defend himself. He was extremely outnumbered. Even with the brother and the sister-in-law defending him, he was still outnumbered by people who thought that he broke his wife's bones on purpose. And let's be real too, it seems as though the way she's telling the story is not very charitable to him. It doesn't sound like she's telling it in a funny way, but it's hard to say because obviously the sister-in-law who defended him is the one who wanted her to tell it, which, like, again, I don't know why you would want to tell that story, but there could be a funny version of it. The incident in itself is funny. It's funny that you thought it would be a good idea to surprise a military man by jumping on his back in the middle of him coming home to what he thinks is going to be no one there, and it would not result in any issues. That in of itself is funny, but This is the importance too of recognizing these friend groups early on and not entertaining them. Like, you would think that women of my generation would learn a thing or two from Mean Girls and the Burn Book and how that whole thing went down, and you know how everybody has to like talk crap about themselves and their boyfriend to fit in, and how that clearly didn't work out very well for any of the women or men involved. Okay. Someone else just says again, 4 glasses of wine. Everyone is just wasted here. I want to read some of these comments too. These are rewarding. Top comment says, there is honestly no excuse for this. You seem to lack a backbone as you were so easily swayed into leaving with your friends. How can your husband trust you when you can't stand up for him in a moment like this? To which the very next comment is, you have the moral backbone of a chocolatey Claire. You let people come into your house and call your husband a wife beater, and then you started walking out with them. You can't save your marriage unless he wants to stay married to you. And seeing how you froze and allowed him to be verbally abused and threatened in his own home? Not to mention, throughout this entire story, she's just been making herself the victim of it. And really, she's not the victim of much. It seems like he has continuously bent over backwards to be everything for her. And she got real comfortable and she fell for the con of, oh, all of our husbands suck and we can all do better, even though none of these women are leaving their husbands, clearly. And now you ruined what is most likely going to be the best relationship of your life. It's all these little things, the way he kisses your cellulite, the way he picks you up, the way he cuddles you, like, that wasn't enough to get you to stop destroying his reputation within your inner social circles. Only him leaving made you even start to really regret what you've done. And even that's not enough for you to take full accountability, because you're still trying to emotionally manipulate everyone around you into feeling bad for you. And it's such a, oh no, the consequences of my own actions situation. Like, yes, she's saying over and over again that she does realize that she should be ashamed, but like, I cannot imagine letting myself get to a state of mind where my husband is being accused of one of the most heinous, life-ruining things that a man can ever be accused of. Like, you truly cannot come back from an accusation like this. How many situations do we have in society where the man is proven to be innocent and it still doesn't matter? He's still lost all of his contracts, his job, no one wants to work with him. Still, people still believe it. Because how often is it that the story where the man is being accused is spread online and seen by, let's say, 15 million people, but the article that comes out showing that he's been proven innocent is only seen by maybe 100,000? The damage is done. The damage is already done. Even the fact that she eventually went back doesn't prove to those 6 or so people there that he isn't beating her. It just means, oh, she's too scared to leave. And now that's the narrative that they're going to run with. Because why would a woman who's not being beat even start to leave with people if that's not the case? This is a great point. Null ARC says, especially if that wife beater accusation starts circling into his military career in units. That will likely have bad consequences for him. And that's beyond just career. I'm sure other veterans and military will agree with me here, but men of the service do not take kindly to wife beaters. You can bet your sweet ass that if it comes out that you are even rumored to beat your wife, not only will you have your butt cheeks spanked career wise, if you even get to stay in your career, but like what those men will do to you behind the scenes, the way they will treat you, you're dog water, dude. You are dog water at that point. If that. That's actually the nicest of ways you could be treated in the military as a quote unquote wife beater. Guys, this is the saddest part about this. It makes us distrust women. All women are affected by one false accusation. I mean, the stories like these will definitely get in your trust issues. That's for sure. Sorry, I'm just reading your comments. Yeah, most people are like, I'm not going to start distrusting all women. But this is not great. And again, what's really sad is I think that most women watching right now and hearing the story can relate to being stuck in these kinds of friend groups. It's really a prolific problem with women where it's, and I don't know what it is. I think it's also a particular issue in the stay-at-home mom community. And this is not to say that all stay-at-home moms are like this. There's definitely nothing wrong inherently with being a stay-at-home mom, especially if it's what everyone decides on. But what I've found is that within the stay-at-home mom life, because it is such a lonely, isolating experience, you have to imagine, and I'm sure a lot of stay-at-home dads can attest to this too. When you're a stay-at-home parent, you are spending your entire day not socializing with any other adults, in only a child's headspace, being constantly frustrated, constantly cleaning. You're constantly noticing everything in the house that has not been done. You're not exactly noticing everything that has been done. And it can really send you into this dark spiral of like, man, I do everything around here because you're trapped in this, what oftentimes starts to feel like a prison of just chores, chores, chores. And not enough stay-at-home parents ever end up finding a hobby or something that gives them confidence outside of their marriage, outside of their children, and outside of their lives. And so what often can happen is when stay-at-home moms start to try to branch out and join friend groups, one of the first things that they end up being able to bond over is their shared frustrations. And it's just not a very natural, I would say, socialized process to say to your friends, like, well, now, wait, like, let's go easy on our husbands. Let's try to take a moment and be grateful for what they do. Those friends are hard to find. If you do find them, hold them close. Don't let them leave. Lock them up and trap them in your basement because you don't want to lose friends like that. But the most common thing is they're going to be like, yes, girl, you're so right. You don't deserve that. You're such a queen, because those feelings can be super addictive. It could be so, it's like a validation parade. And that's pretty much what women love to do. It's one of our best qualities, is that if you're in a group of women, we're probably all going to be validating the shit out of each other. And that's great until it goes from validating the shit out of each other to enabling the shit out of each other. And that's when we have to set our egos aside and knock that shit off. Okay? Yeah, there's some guys saying that are like, yeah, and that's the tough thing too, is because these stay-at-home parents, they don't really get to see what their spouse is doing at work, or they don't understand how hard it is at work. And so another thing that they'll start to do is they'll start to convince themselves like, oh, my husband gets a vacation from all of this. Like he gets to go away to a job and then come back and clock out, and like I don't get to clock out. So all of these feelings can really compound on each other. And especially if they're like on a military base too. I've got to imagine they're talking to a lot of other stay-at-home parents, stay-at-home moms. And yeah, it's like people are saying in the chat, it turns into a big old pity party. Oh yeah, this person deleted their entire account. I was going to see if she replied to any of these, but we'll never know now. But another comment says, it's over. You stood silent as people were accusing him of ABUSINGU without correcting them. That does not bode well for him. To him, you can easily claim it yourself one day if they were to rile you up enough. He can't trust you, and he shouldn't. If you're immature enough that your friends assuming he abused you is enough to have you stand there in silence and then follow them to the car, then it's clear you are not mature enough to be with him. What you did was fucked up and isn't going to be fixed because you told Sarah and Lana to fuck off the next day. You lost a beautiful and wonderful man, and he dodged a bullet. If he commits to leaving. That's the sad thing about Reddit posts, is very seldom will we get an update or the final story, especially here when this account has been deleted. Although, like I said, I do have the screenshots, so if anybody else ever sees an account similar to the name Fun Pomegranate 5405 show up one day, although I think that's one of those auto-generated Reddit usernames. Yeah, I would love a Reddit update from his perspective as well. It's really scary though, because another aspect of this is that I'm really afraid he's not going to leave. Specifically because he is military. Now, this is another thing that anybody in the military will tell you, but if he's been in the military this whole time and he assisted her in leaving her job to become a stay-at-home mom, she's gonna get the kids and a fat alimony payment and a fat child support payment. And if it's one thing the military makes damn sure you do, it's that you pay those bills. Honestly, he's probably going to end up staying because the alternative is only getting to see his kids maybe 10 to 15% of the year, is what most military men will get. He's not military, he's ex-military. Okay, that's true. It was he was starting something like Coast Guard, but nonetheless, it's still a big risk when you're the working parent and the other parent is a stay-at-home. She's gonna get majority custody. He's gonna be relegated to an every other weekend visitor, most likely. And then good luck if he can even get the full weekend, because he very rarely gets Saturdays and Sundays off. So with what he might be able to do as a dad, he might only be able to see the kid one day a week with his schedule. So one of the only ways that he'll be able to make sure that he's not missing holidays and he's watching his kids grow up is to stay with her. This is a big fear that I've expressed, that I have this fear that men stay in You know what? Fuck it. If I get demonetized, y'all please just join my Patreon so that I can just say the abuse word. I'm just gonna start saying abuse. YouTube's gonna get pissed. I might get demonetized. If so, just know all of your super chats and all that are going directly to helping get me to South Carolina at the end of April to promote some 50/50 legislation down there. So I appreciate all that. And if I don't get demonetized, all that money goes toward that endeavor as well. But the things that make me fear that men stay in abusive relationships possibly more often than women are as follows. One, less likely to see the kids. Two, there are no like shelters for men. I mean, there's so many lists. There's so many reasons here that I think it's more likely, because not all abuse is physical. I just think that men have a lot more to lose if they leave. They're gonna have to pay for it. They're gonna have to pay for their own escape. They're more likely to end up homeless. South Carolina, the 50/50 equal shared parenting push is at the end of April there. So that's the next push. We're looking into some other places throughout the year as well, but whenever I get a chance to promote equal shared parenting legislation in a state, I go. I couldn't make it to California this month for a big summit, but with your support, I will keep it moving. This comment says, false accusations can be deadly. A Danish male daycare specialist went to the USA to work, got accused of abusing the kids, was found not guilty. He didn't last long, though. He could not live with it. It's quite the shadow to be cast over a man. That's for sure. This is pretty crazy. I want to read this comment too. TLDR, you can skip to paragraph starting with 2020 rolled around, but breakdown is the only background needed. She threw a surprise birthday party when they were dating. It resulted in him instinctively slamming her to the floor, dislocating her shoulder and breaking her shoulder. Friends and family were there. It's now considered funny to tell, but husband hates it because he doesn't think it's funny. OP made up lies during a kiddie playdate session because she wanted to fit in with others who were venting, got sympathy because she has to bear all the child care and housework. She doesn't work a job because her husband is working crazy hours and has to stay away. She trips and hurts herself. Husband and OP host a dinner. They have two moms with husbands and sister-in-law and brother over. Sister-in-law jokingly tells her to tell the story. She does. One of the moms falsely accuses husband of DV. Fight almost breaks out. OP freezes up, starts to follow the friend of the car. Sister-in-law stops her. Now husband needs space, tells her she needs to leave. He's now considering separation. The end. You knowingly told a story that he isn't comfortable with and doesn't find funny in his own home. Freezing up is one thing. Leaving with the accusing friends is another story. You need to give him space, and he needs to figure out what you can do to earn his trust. Marriage counseling is a good start. Terrible advice. Why is it his job to figure out what she needs to do to re-earn his trust? That's bullshit. That's like when someone cheats and their partner actually is like, I can start working on forgiving you. And they're like, okay, just tell me what I need to do. No, you caused this mess. It's not the person that you fucked over's fault to give you a game plan. It's not their responsibility to create the plan of how you fixed the problem that you caused. That's your job. You come up with the plan. This is the how to rebuild the trust plan. You're not putting any labor on the person that you screwed over. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. He needs to figure out what you can. He doesn't need to figure out anything. He needs to figure out how to start enjoying solitude. That's all he needs to worry about. He doesn't need to help her. He doesn't need to put in any work at all. If they go to therapy, it's going to be him saying, like, these are all the problems I still have, and then you need to be coming up with a solution. This is not, he doesn't have to put in any effort into this. Are you kidding me? In general, I think that marriage is something that there needs to be equal reciprocal effort in. But if you're the one who completely betrayed your partner, there is no two-party effort to make it better. That's crazy. That's a one-party effort at that point, and you being lucky that the other person is giving you a chance to do that. Wow. Yeah, I agree. There's 450 of you watching, and we're only at 128 likes. Let's fix that before we move on to the next story. Go ahead. Drop it right down there. You see where it says like there? Tap it. There you go. I think on the phone you just like press and hold even. And then the subscribe button. Do that one too. What should I do when we get to 400,000, by the way? For 350,000, I baked a Nanalan cake. What should I do at 400,000? You guys decide this right now before we move on to the next story. Also, I'm not moving on to the next story until we are at 200 likes. I'm being an entitled creator right now. I want my likes and I want them now. I'm not even watching the likes. Just one of you pointed it out and now I'm mad about it. No, but seriously, hit like. Do it. Hit the like button. And also tell me what I should do for when we get 400,000. Live baking stream? You would hate that. I'm so annoying to watch cook or bake. Thank you for the stars. I think it's Hanare, which is pretty, if I'm saying it correct. Maybe it's Hiner, but I don't think so. I made a short about the cake. Actually, oh my god, let me get the cake. I forgot. Hold on. Wait right there. I'm gonna go get the cake. I'm gonna show it to you guys. All right. So why did I bake a cake? This is so random, but on one of my streams, like ages ago now, like a month ago now, we watched a viral TikTok video where a girl was kind of sister shaming because her sister promised her a Nanalan cake. But then during the cake reveal was the little cake topper lifted, and what was it? A strawberry shortcake, which is not a Nanalan cake. Who is Nanalan? You may be asking. I too was like, I don't know what Nanalan is, and I don't know how hard it would be to make such a cake. So I did my research. I looked into it. I will show you guys who Nanalan is real quick. Okay. Let's get the... Okay. This is Nanalan. Apparently, this was like a show that ran in between Disney programs, like back in the 90s. And you may recall, I was a dirt poor immigrant's daughter in Detroit in the 90s, and I did not have access to Disney. So this is all new to me. But it's now like resurfacing in meme format. In particular, the song where Nanalan comes out in like a ballerina outfit and they sing, "Who is that wonderful girl? Could she be any cuter?" And it's like a thing. Like, people love the song, they love the meme. And this girl in particular loved this meme so much that she asked her sister for a Nanalan cake. The sister was like, "I promise you, I will make a Nanalan cake." And so, of course, they reveal the cake. There is no Nanalan. And this girl is like, where's Nanalan? And the sister's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. It was too hard. It's out of my skill level. She's like, but I told all my coworkers there would be Nanalan. And she's like, I know, I'm sorry. And her parents are like petting her. And so there was like a lot of conflict in the chat because half the people were like, is she autistic? Like, why is she so upset about the Nanalan? And the rest of the people were like, no, even if she is autistic, it is perfectly acceptable to be upset when someone promises you one thing and that doesn't even completely fails to deliver. Like, she could have texted her the day of or like the night before and been like, I'm trying to make this cake. I suck at it. I don't know how to, what is this? I don't even know. How about a strawberry shortcake? And then she could have been more emotionally and mentally prepared. But that is not the case. And so she disappointed them. And there was even people who were like, dude, your sister is gaslighting you. She could have made an Nanalan cake. If she made a strawberry shortcake, she could have made an Nanalan cake. So again, I still don't fully know what Nanalan is. I think it's a frog. Is Nanalan a frog? But what I do know is that I've never even made a cake before. And I fucking made it. Could she be any cuter? The answer is no. Mochi, would you like to pop up on here? Do you want some Nanalan cake, Mochi? It's rainbow, what's like a rainbow sprinkle on the inside. And all of this is a homemade buttercream frosting. I've never used a mixer before this cake, but I was like, I just had to go for it. And I think in conclusion, I have to agree with the commenters. That sister gaslit the shit out of her sister because if my dumb ass can make a Nanalan cake, she could have made a Nanalan cake, dude. And it, oh my god, it smells so good. Look at how hard I worked on the crown. This part, this could be a little prettier. This does look like I chopped off Nanalan at the legs, but she's happy despite everything. I'm gonna set you down here, Nanalan. Maybe I'll even cut into a slice after a couple of stories. Lord knows if there's one thing the Dadvocate's gonna do, it's gonna be forgetting to eat until 1:30. That's for sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for appreciating my cake. And with that, I know the description of this did indicate that we were gonna have some other wild stories, and I like to stay true to that. So we're gonna get right into it. Here we go. So much screenshots I have to get through. Okay. I'm gonna pull up a video next because it's topical, right? Speaking of people who like to talk crap about their husband and think that's just a perfectly normal and healthy thing to do. Okay, this is perfectly centered, so we'll just get right into it. Oh, wait. Sorry. Audio is always terrible if I just play it without my headphones in. Okay. You guys know I always love when a video starts off like this. But let's go into it.
I'm going to talk shit about my husband. And if you're not into people getting on the internet and airing their dirty laundry and talking shit about their spouses, keep scrolling. This is not for you. But
to be fair, she did warn us. Morally speaking, I would love to know your opinion on this. If someone warns us, hey, if you are a person that does not like when people talk crap about their spouse, keep going. Do you think that that then makes it okay? Because then all the people who disagree with her should be leaving. If her husband is one of the people viewing, then he should be leaving, imaginably, right? Who wants to stick around for that? I mean, this is pretty much insurance, right? She's off the hook. She already said, if you don't like it, just leave. And so that means whatever she's about to say next, totally fine.
I don't have any real life friends, so the internet gets my drama.
What was I just saying? What was I just saying about stay-at-home moms not having adequate friend groups, and then when they try to find friend groups, this is how they try to bond? What did I just say?
Tell me if this would piss you off. My husband says he's going to go golfing. Okay. This was yesterday. I already wasn't crazy happy about it, considering it's
a man golfing. It's okay. You can say it. Look, how we know. We know how you feel, golf wives. All right? You don't have to pretend. Same with hunting wives. We know how you feel.
couple days before Christmas. He knew that I had a ton that I needed to do. I had voiced my concerns to him about this. Hey, this is taking up really valuable time on a week that we don't have any extra time. And then I'm like, you know what? Stop. He doesn't get to go out with his friends often. He doesn't get to do fun things very often. You can make time for your shit later. Let him go. So he goes. He leaves the house around 8 a.m. yesterday. I get like 1 or 2 texts from him throughout the day. 6 o'clock in the evening rolls around. At this point, I'm thinking he's got to be on his way home, right? Like he's coming home, right? Our kids go down at 7:30. The wife of his best friend texts, hey, the boys are sleeping off their golfing day. AKA, they got so shit-faced that it's 6 in the evening and they're passed out at his buddy's house. So I'm like, that's so fantastic. You left to go golfing all day, which is already annoying to leave me with the kids. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I get very few breaks. Now I'm like working on my day off, you know what I mean? And I'm doing bath and bed and like all the routine. Sorry, I hit stop for a second. So I'm not doing that all by myself. That's already annoying. That's already just rude. At this point, I'm just thinking that's rude. You don't even give me a heads up you're not going to be home. You don't give me any kind of indication that you might miss bedtime. Like I'm just waiting all day for you to get home and then I find out you're not home. Also, you're 34 years old and you have 2 kids at home and you let yourself get so drunk that you had to pass out. And then I get a text at 11:30 at night. Oh, hey, I'm on my way home. Sorry. Inexcusable. Freaking excusable. That was so unbelievably inconsiderate and rude. I'm pissed off at him and I'm pissed off at the friend he was with because Jesus, you are in your mid-30s. You are too old to be acting like that. So I'm pissed off, right? I'm furious, obviously. So he comes home last night after I had texted him, don't bother, stay at your buddy's house. I don't want you home. He comes home in the morning. He's like, hey, sorry. And I'm like, hey, not good enough. You messed up pretty bad, buddy. Like that was pretty messed up.
So wait a minute. Let me rewind this a little bit. I think I missed something, unless one of you can answer. So he leaves at 8. He says he's going to go golfing. And he says it's going to be a day, right? It's going to be a golfing day. And at first she's like, please don't. But then she concedes and goes, okay, fine, you don't get to do this very often, go. He leaves at 8. We get an update about 6:30, like from the wife. Then at 11:30 he says I'm home, but then he didn't end up coming home. He ends up coming home the next day. Is that correct? Someone let me know yes or no before I rewind a little bit. I just want to make sure. Just double check.
Good enough. You messed up pretty bad, buddy. Like that was pretty much.
Hold on, I'm gonna read the captions. He comes home in the morning. Wait, so he comes home last night. Wait, did he come home in the morning or did he come last night? What? So he comes home late last night. But then she says, stay at your buddy's house. So he tries to come home, she kicks him out. Then he comes home in the morning. Oh, okay.
In the morning, he's like, hey, sorry. And I'm like, hey, not good enough. You messed up pretty bad, buddy. Like, that was pretty messed up. So anyways, I ream into him, as I feel I had every right to, because he didn't seem remorseful. He didn't really seem to care. And of course, in true my husband fashion, he then gets mad at me because I'm mad at him. And he cops an attitude with me.
This is a lot. I will finish this video, but so far I'm gonna say this. It doesn't seem as though he did behave with the most consideration for his wife. But, oh, wow. the way that she's speaking about him in this video is reckless. I will say that. It's very reckless. I think a lot of people come on here and they're like, oh, I'm just going to vent a little, and everyone will understand that my husband is a good person outside of this one niche experience. Honey, we don't. We don't know you. Everything that you tell us is all of the context that we have ever received about your husband in our entire lives. So the fact that you're coming on here and you're starting our entire experience off with your husband as this really inconsiderate, out of character thing, but then while you're telling us about it, you're saying that, oh, this is a pattern of behavior, actually. It's just like my husband to get mad at me whenever I express things. I don't know if you realize how bad you're painting him. And I'm so glad that we're getting into this right after the last story about a woman who failed to defend her husband from accusations because of a friend group that got so into crap talking their husbands like this. But to you, this might just sound like, oh, I'm just like venting, like, it seems like he always gets mad at me when I try to express things. This is the internet. So the way that people are interpreting this is, so every time you try to call him out, he abuses you. So he's a monster, is what you're telling me. When I will admit, while it does seem as though this guy has inconsiderate and childish tendencies, as do I, real recognize real, she has aggressive reactionary tendencies. So we have two imperfect people here, but only one of us is putting the other's imperfections on blast to a bunch of strangers. And that's kind of the issue here.
For being upset with him because he thinks that the words "I'm sorry" should just instantly erase all of the emotions around that event, which is just not how humans work. Anyways, so then he's like, I gotta go pick up my golf clubs. I left him at his house. I'll pick up lunch on my way back. 2 hours later, he comes back with lunch and my meal is wrong and it's something that I cannot and will not eat. And I'm just like, oh, the rage I feel, I have been shaking all day. I'm so mad because I feel so disrespected. So I'm just venting because I don't really have any in real life friends. My social interaction is all online. So I'm just venting and I don't care who you think was right or wrong. I don't care if you think it's not a big deal. I literally don't.
I think you do care who we think is right. I think you do care because there really was not many details provided in this story that would make anybody on your husband's side, unless they're being extremely contrarian. So I think that you kind of care. By the way, I should probably move this over a little bit so that you can see the damage here. Yeah. This wasn't exactly a small vent here.
Care. I'm just venting to get it out. But also, does anybody else feel that intense rage when their food is wrong? Because that tipped me over the edge. I was mad and now I am like furious. And I know it's not his fault and I know accidents happen and the restaurant just put the wrong soup in, but I'm like, oh my God. After waiting 2 hours for a freaking bowl of soup and then to have it be the wrong soup. And now I feel like it's money wasted, time wasted. Please tell me somebody else is having a day.
This is how it all starts. And here's the thing, too. Here's what's so disingenuous about I was just venting. I was just coming on here to vent real quick. Here's the immediate fallacy with that is we scroll down. Sorry. We scroll down and we see that this was posted in December. So this has been up for about 3 months. So this clearly was not just a quick vent to you. In fact, is this pinned to the top? You always got to check. Surprisingly, not pinned. But that's a pretty common one, is they'll pin it. But this is the issue with this quick vent thing is, and the biggest difference between a quick vent on the world's largest social media platform and a quick vent with trusted friends who actually know your husband, can give an objective opinion, and who will still understand the deeper dynamics of your and your husband's relationship and all the deeper sacrifices and things that you've gone through together that no one else understands. Here's just a couple differences between the two of those, since she's clearly not in the position to know what those are. When you vent to your friends, it can still cause damage. The main way to avoid that damage is to make sure that you're only talking to trusted friends and you're saying, hey, before I even start the story, just remember, like, I do love my spouse. I want you to tell me if you think I'm overreacting. I don't want you to just baby me and validate me just to tell me I'm right. Like, I want to be able to talk about this with someone who is not going to hold on to these negative feelings, who will be able to look at this objectively. Those people are hard to find, but those are the only people that you should be letting out these quick vents to. Because what most often happens when you just vent to friends is most of us are not doing that. We're not doing the legwork to make sure that our friends are looking at this charitably, humbly, and respectfully. A lot of times we're just going to an easy audience who will give us that easy sympathy, that easy empathy, that easy, oh, you're the best, you deserve better than this, you're working so hard and they're so ungrateful, but I'm not ungrateful. I see you for the star that you are. Very, very common. And then what very often happens is this friend group will hate your spouse forever. They will. It's very rare that you can quickly vent, aka complain about and talk trash about your boyfriend, your spouse, whomever, over and over and over again to these people, and them not start to hate you for even staying with them. Okay, so that's major damage that you can be doing there. But now you post it publicly online, and here's why it's even worse than venting to the friend group. Because at least with the friend group, you're not leaving a tangible, permanent paper trail. Am I the only one whose dad told her, hey, everything that you post to the internet is public, even if you think it's private. And everything that you post to the internet is forever, even if you think you deleted it? Am I the only one who had that talk as a kid? Because it seems like hundreds of thousands to millions of people online were never given that talk. Or if they were, they just like didn't believe it. In this case, it doesn't seem that she cares about it being private or deleted. And so what it now exists is this perpetual reminder, this constant thorn in the lion's paw of, hey, do you remember that really, really crappy thing you did? So now it not only does it exist in perpetuity to be rewatched anytime that you want to go back and remind yourself of like that wound. Every time you want to dig that knife into the resentment of your marriage, you not only have that widely available, but you have it on a platform where people will be regularly engaging with it, reminding you about it, bringing you back to it, and then sucking you in with comments like these. Comments from men excusing his behavior is alarming. There's a lot of people like crap talking him, but there's a lot of these are ones that she's responded to, which is why they're up high. I would absolutely book a hotel and spa day and leave in the morning and put my phone on do not disturb and then come home at the exact same time he did. I'm so confused what kind of adult/parent gets so drunk that they have to sleep it off in the middle of the day. After watching this, I'm mad at my husband. Creator says, I love everyone in this comment section so much. she's getting mad that people are blaming her. Golf is the worst. Basically, she's having the time of her life engaging with people who are building her up and telling her, "You're so right for this, honey. You're the best. You're an all-star. Your husband is an absolute piece of crap." And I can get it. Like, again, I'm not saying that he was the most considerate spouse in the world. I too would not exactly be thrilled if my husband was gone literally like all day, especially if the agreement is that he would come home sooner. But you are in the wrong for putting this on the internet and making this all of our business to judge the crap out of your husband. I understand that it can feel good to be told you're right to feel angry about this, but you should really only need that from like one person, one trusted person. How many people telling you you're right, your husband's a piece of shit do you need? Because you have 54,000 at least. How long do we need to keep this going? How long do we need to marinate in this resentment of our relationship and be constantly reminded of this one cringy, shitty thing that he did? You're never giving your chance. You are not giving yourself a chance to move on by keeping this up, by just constantly making videos every time that he's making you angry. You're not giving yourself a chance to heal, to move on, to actually have a solution to this issue. You're just dwelling in it. You're just like adding on to the resentment soup, just mixing in more ingredients into the resentment pot. This is not healthy for a relationship. But what does every partner shaming video come with, you guys? Come on, you can say it in the chat real quick. It wouldn't be a partner shaming video if it wasn't followed up with the what? Who's going to be the first one to say it? What kind of video always comes after the "my husband's a piece of shit and this is why"? Thank you. Yes, super heather. You won the "just kidding, we're fine" video. This one's a little interesting though. Every partner shaming situation always comes with a little bit of a twist. And what I love about this "just kidding, we're fine" video is that it's a "just kidding, we're fine, but actually no, we're not" video.
I'm going to talk shit about my husband. And if you're not into people getting on the internet and airing their dirty
Wait, did I miss the... Sorry, hold on. Let me find the right one. Oh, let me read this. Sorry, I missed that. From Cameron. The irony here is that her hostility is probably what is compelling him to get away for a whole day. People were saying that in the chat, and she did not like it. Okay, give me a second to find... I'm so sad that I lost it, but I will find it, I promise. I'm so sorry. Okay, where is this original video? All right, give me a second here, y'all.
Did Zoe from Sesame Street get canceled? This is...
Oh, wow. I gotta scroll. I got the wrong link. That was my bad, but I will find it. Myself. Oh my god, she has a video with Nanalan. Crossover. Sorry, this video was posted in, like I said, December. And she is one of those people who posts like every day. All right.
So I can't
Shit, I went back to September. How did I get this far? I scrolled too much. Thank you guys for your patience. This was meant to blend a lot more seamlessly.
I'm gonna rant about the...
And I failed. Okay.
So I can't possibly...
Let me see if this is the one. Okay, here's one of them. Let me just make sure that I'm getting the right one. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I know I'm being a brat. Okay. Nope, not that one. Okay, so the process of elimination is at least going well.
So this is actually something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while.
Is this the one? Okay, so this is basically just one where she's talking about how she's definitely not doing this for the clout or for the views. God, we're almost there. I know I had it pulled up somewhere. Is this the one?
So, I've got some time this morning. Let's talk about this one too. I create just
okay.
Any respect.
I think this is it. So sorry, everybody.
So
okay. This is her responding to a comment that reads, maybe she'll read it.
So I can't possibly.
The issue is you're a stay-at-home mom waiting on him, building resentment because he has friends and hobbies. You agreed for him to go out, and he doesn't go out often. Okay, so that comment seems pretty accurate. She's clearly responding to this comment, and yeah, that commenter kind of hit the nail on the head of a lot of the issues. Like, at no point am I going to say that the dad was not inconsiderate in how he chose to fail to plan that day. I think it would have gone a lot better if he just said from the jump, like, dude, I just want a day where I can act like a complete child, get drunk, take a nap, and come home. And then once I come home, it's back to work mode. Can I just have this one day? I think it probably would have gone exponentially better for him, but everything in this comment is still an absolute accurate representation of so many of the problems that are going on here. She does not have friends. She has nothing giving her confidence and joy outside of or maybe inside of the home. She deeply resents the fact that she doesn't have friends and that she doesn't have any way of talking about her life in her mind outside of social media, which is incredibly sad. It's not that there's no sympathy from me for her. It's just a little harder for me to be sympathetic when the way that you communicate these problems you're experiencing is directly harming the people that you claim to care about, right? Also, there's just something about her face that's annoying. I can't explain it. It's not the face itself. She has a pretty face. It's what she's doing with the face. Does that make sense? Her face gives me anxiety. Does that make sense? Her face makes me stressed.
I respond to everybody's comments, but I will respond to this person because they left me like 4 or 5 comments talking about how it was my fault because I was letting my resentment build just because I don't have my own friends or hobbies and that I agreed to let him go. So what's the problem? They basically went on just to say that my behavior was a huge turnoff and this was all on me. So they obviously don't live in reality, or they're like 12. I don't really know. But when you are a parent and a partner, you don't get to just leave and come back whenever you want with no communication, especially when kids are involved. And you don't get so drunk that you can't get yourself home to your wife and kids. So this person can kindly go themselves. To respond to everybody else, just kind of using this as a blanket one, no, I'm not going to divorce him. He really messed up. He's a really good, genuinely good person that did a really bad, crappy thing. And it happens. I'm not forgiving it, but it
Sorry, guys.
happens. I am not perfect either, and I'm sure I have done many things to infuriate him as well. You don't know my relationship, and you don't know my husband and my marriage based off of my one video of me venting out of frustration. So I want to thank everybody that was realistic about it and just saw it as me venting about something and chose to talk to me and relate to me and let me vent instead of trying to make it into this huge thing that it really wasn't. I'm a smart girl. I know what to look for, and I know what I deserve and, what I'm worth. So no worries, I've got this. But again, thank you to everybody being kind, and to those of you that have not been kind, you can just have the day that you deserve.
You guys kind of felt that roller coaster too, didn't you? The way that she was like, my husband is a very, very good man with inexcusable, problematic, toxic behavior. And I mean, I'm sure that like I piss him off too, but trust me, I know what I deserve, and I am not going to let him walk all over me. But to everybody who like gets it and understands, like, this is just a one-off thing that I'm sure happens to everybody, but I will never be forgetting this or letting him live it down, because what kind of adult man baby would engage in that? You see what I'm saying here? Like, she's getting so close. She's getting so close to getting it. She's right up on that line of understanding, like, wait, I posted this to a bunch of complete strangers who don't know my life, who don't know all the contributions that this man has made to his family, or all of the things that he's given up to make my lifestyle work for me. But I don't understand why they're not giving him or me the benefit of the doubt. This is crazy. I'm just mind blown here. Also, the hashtags are men suck, husband problems, and husbands be like.
So I can't.
And the comments, of course. You did nothing wrong, sister. Your feelings are so valid. So valid. Your feelings are valid, my dear. I am with you all the way. We need to play the song from that one podcaster. It's an echo chamber. You're so right. Your feelings are so valid. It's an echo chamber. You're so right. It's an echo chamber. You're so right. We need to bring that song back for moments like this. I just, yeah, you did do something wrong, though. You did, because your face is here, which means that we can definitely conflate that with your husband's face. We can find out who your husband is, and we don't have any other context for him being a good person. Your viral video shows us him being a piece of like an absolute piece of dog shit. Okay, that's what we have to go off of. You have not cared to delete the video whatsoever. So any argument that you have to make of like, I'm not doing this for clicks, I'm not doing this for likes, I'm just doing this to vent and get a little bit off my chest, that can't possibly be true, because it's been 3 months and you're still accumulating likes and comments. Why? Why would this little vent still need to exist if it's not for clout? Shouldn't the issue be water under the bridge by now? Or has it not expired? At what point will your husband be free from this little piece of internet archived history of everybody shitting all over him? Never. Is that like the way that it goes? If you do something that annoys your spouse once, what is fair and right is that we get to memorialize the story publicly online for the public opinion and never delete it. Is that just what we should come to expect in society then? So then what she must be agreeing to, right, is that when she does these things that infuriate her husband, as she openly admits she does, then he gets to encapsulate it in archived internet history and just let a bunch of people dog on you, right? Oh, wait, no, but that's probably not what's going to happen, because in all of the multitudes of videos where she's responding to all of these comments, she doesn't like being judged at all. Man, I'm sorry, this eyelash is bugging me. I think it's like the glue has like gotten loose or something and it's like flying around. Let me do a BRB and pee and fix my lash. And I will be right back. One sec. Okay, thank you for your patience. I fixed my eyelash and I also decided that I finally want to slice some Nanalan. Which piece should I take? Should I just take a big old chunk out of the Nanalan face? And I think I'll take take a little slice of like her pigtail here. Just chop right into the head. Oh, hi Miles. Take just like a little slice. Nothing too crazy. We're gonna have some Nanalan cake to celebrate 350,000 subscribers. You can take a look at my rainbow fetty here. All right. How did I do? This is my 350,000 subscriber cake that I made myself. Holy shit, this is good. Dang. Okay. I'm a good cake maker. I should keep making cakes. That is my conclusion. But we still haven't decided what we're doing at 400,000. We're not doing cake. We already did cake. How can you claim the right eye? I don't really know how to ship cake. Sounds messy. Oh, this is so good. Okay. That was good. I just needed a little Nanalan. This is how much Nanalan is missing. Just a tiny amount. Mochi might come join, by the way. He's about. When YouTube won't give you silver, so you bake yourself a cake. Wait, what do you mean? I have my silver YouTube plaque right behind me, if that's what you mean. Okay. Oh, cool. All right. I have some more for you too. Let me see what I put in the description of this this live, so that I'd make sure I don't forget any stories that I promised. I can be a little bad about that sometimes. Let's see. Some other stories. We did that. Oh yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Now I know which ones we're doing. All right. So, this next story that we're gonna read. Before we get into this, do you guys do potlucks at your work? And if so, do you have a potluck recipe that is just like your standby? Like you are known for this potluck recipe? Let me know. Let me know if true. I personally, my potluck recipe is meatballs made with ketchup, Frank's Red Hot, grape jelly, and Sweet Baby Ray's. Just throw them in a crock pot for like 4 hours. Make sure that the grape jelly to Sweet Baby Ray's ratio is like equal and in large amounts. And then just like a little bit of Frank's and a little bit of ketchup. But like, amazing. Mochi cake is lovely, but you get a mouthful of hair. Facts. He's just chilling right now. Mochi, do you want lap? Nah, he's being a floor cat right now. I want to see what your guys I miss the way Domino's used to make their pizza. More cake in the future. Maybe I will do a 400K cake. All right, what should my 400,000 subscriber cake be then? Okay, if you don't know what a potluck is, apparently some of you do not. Lower this down. A potluck is an event where a bunch of people get together and everybody signs up to bring one group meal. So maybe one person will bring like a bunch of pasta salad and another person will bring like a bunch of potato salad. And then one person, like me, will bring meatballs. And so it keeps costs down. It's a fun way of getting a bunch of people together and eating a bunch of food without like one person having to pay for everything, you know? So it's kind of like a communal event. Kind of like Harvest Moons back in the day when all of the farmers would get together during like the great harvest times and everybody would just eat each other's food. It's pretty cool. So all that being said, this is a story about how certain stereotypes against men can just get freaking ridiculous. Coworkers are accusing me of passing my wife's food off as my own. Oh, thank you for the super chat. The super chat. The super sat. These stories remind me of a joke where a lady complains about the neighbor leaving dirty laundry on the clothesline till the day her husband rewashes the kitchen window. I find it to be a life lesson. That's a good joke and story. Also, while we're on the Harvest Moons story real quick, my husband said that one of his like favorite memories of us dating would be when I used to like go with him to his like rehearsals and shows, and I would just like be doing my own things in the background. And he said that he would like find his notebooks, and I would just have notes of like what each bachelor liked written down in them. Like, imagine, imagine just being TJ and like finding this notes like, what? Why is my wife writing down all these things that all these men want? Oh, she's playing Harvest Moon. Anyway, onto the story. Fairly minor thing in the big scheme of things, but it's still ongoing. I'm a 36-year-old male and I work in medical billing, an industry that tends to be dominated by women. The office I work in is something like 97% women. Pre-pandemic, we had potlucks in the office almost monthly. We're now fully remote, except for quarterly in-office meetings with an attached potluck. I enjoy cooking and preparing food, and my potluck go-to is a quick and easy bean salad. No cooking involved. It's rinsing beans and chopping peppers and onions and making up a dressing to toss them all in. Pair with some chips for scooping. Easy as heck, and it tends to be a big hit, and people have even reached out asking me if I'm making it when there's a potluck upcoming. Here's the recipe I use, and it links to cowboy caviar, which if you've never had cowboy caviar, my mother-in-law introduced me to this concept. It's like black beans, corn, like you said, peppers and onions, a very simple like salsa-y dressing. And then yeah, you scoop chips up in it. Amazing. So good. And you will see it in your poop later. Except for one click of sour old biddies. Does your work have a sour old biddy click? Say yes in chat if you got some sour old biddies. I typically love some biddies, but not the sour ones. They've made up their minds that a man would never prepare food like this, and the only logical conclusion is that my wife made it for me to bring, and that I'm lying to everybody by saying I made it myself. They've even gone around to other people saying, you know, they didn't actually make that. His wife did. He's just taking the credit. I don't interact with these women at all outside of the quarterly potluck, and they can believe what they want. But one of them had the audacity to email me this morning asking if I'm finally going to come clean at the meeting / potluck later this month. Fuck you, Sharon. You and Tina went halvesies on a single bag of Doritos last quarter. Edit. For all of you telling me to escalate this to HR, I will not be doing so because HR has a history of exacerbating situations and making them worse for everyone involved. I'm gray rocking this woman because her crab bucket behavior doesn't impact me unless I let it. She's not in a position to harm my career, and it's been 5 years now since she started making these comments about my cowboy caviar. Management rolls their eyes at her and eats another helping. This is one of those things where on the surface, yeah, it's funny, it's easy to laugh off, but I can completely see why this is grinding his gears and pissing him off because it's like 5 years. 5 years working with me, and you can't possibly see me as competent enough to wash corn and beans and put it in a recipe together. Like, it, you've been alive and on this planet for how many decades, and you've seen me, a man, managing to do the same things as you and this 97% of other women, and yet you don't think after all these years I could possibly just make it myself? Even if the first year his wife did make it, you don't think that he could figure it out by year 2 or 3? It's cowboy caviar. It's not turducken, Sharon. And the final line, if it is true that Sharon and Tina did indeed go halvesies on a bag of Doritos as a potluck contribution, it also sounds a lot like projection. It sounds like she's been way too lazy to come up with a single decent recipe for all these years. And so she's like, the only possible explanation here is that this is either store bought or he's ripping off somebody, because if me, a woman, can't even get my ass in gear enough to buy something other than a bag of Doritos, which also I'm not gonna knock too hard because Doritos at the party is lit. Thank you again, Hanare. I hope I'm saying it right. Please tell me if I'm wrong. It sounds like she's jealous of the cowboy caviar. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if the next level of this is like the next time that he gets promoted, they're like, he's only getting promoted because of his faux cowboy caviar. This is ridiculous that a man would be promoted over us when in the end he's still stealing another woman's work. It's like the levels that she has to jump to. And I'm not going to say that historically men have not jocked women's creations and claimed them as their own. For God's sake, the architect Frank Lloyd Wright, notorious for that. If you ever want an architect whose life is worth looking into, look no further than Frank Lloyd Wright. Dude was just having affairs on affairs, one of which led to the axe murder of his wife. And like multiple of his affairs were with young female architects whose work he just absolutely jocked as his own. And just was like, that's mine now. Horrible person. Great architect, maybe. I make a huge stew for potlucks in my Dutch oven over an open fire, no stovetop or oven, that ironically is called potluck stew. There is no set recipe, and it always comes out great. Okay, but why did you steal your wife's stew, Robert? Come clean! I also, what a like Karen inception here, that yes, Sharon and Tina are being remarkably Karen-y right now, but don't you think that taking it to HR would also be quite Karen-y? I think that he's doing the right thing by just being like, just eat the caviar, ignore the biddies. But it's interesting to me that like all of the top comments are like, straight to HR. Let's get these women fired before they can retire. Like, it's also not that deep. Like, we don't have to take away. They're clearly sad old ladies. This is the only socialization they get. We don't need to make them lose their jobs over this. It's petty, but we don't need to be petty back. We don't all need to graduate petty university. I'm late, but I finally made it. You came in at a good time. I was just about to move on to the next story. I forgot what the next story is supposed to be already. Let me double check. Am I the a-hole for springing divorce papers on my wife for this? All right, let's get into it. I have a couple others I want to do. What time are we at? We got time. We got time. We're having fun today. Oh yeah, another reminder. If you haven't already, hit like on the live. Go ahead and tap it. Give you a second. Thank you. All right. That's not the one. Oop. All right. So, this one, the original, I do believe, got deleted, but it's being shared around other subreddits because a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on this. Like I said, it's am I the a-hole for springing this divorce on my wife for this reason, which you don't know the reason yet. But I will let you know before we find out what the story is that the internet is super, super divided, but it seems like most people think that they're the a-hole for springing the divorce on this person. It's very similar to a lot of stories we've covered in the past, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this. This was posted to r/off-my-chest originally, and it reads, "My spouse came out to me as asexual a few months ago. Tomorrow I am handing them divorce papers and they are going to be devastated. My spouse and I have been together for 8 years. Our sex life has had a lot of ups and downs. Sometimes it felt like it was fire and really good, but there were long stretches where I felt like I was starving. While they never denied me when I initiated, lack of initiation on their part has destroyed my self-esteem and left me to feeling incredibly unfulfilled. I have so much missed the feeling of being desired and having my partner seduce me. It was really hard for my spouse to come out. They were so nervous and scared. I hugged them and thanked them for telling me. I effed up and told them that everything would be all right. But it won't be. I can't go the rest of my life with a partner who isn't sexually attracted to me. So I spoke with a lawyer. I'm really worried about my spouse. They're really dependent on me socially, emotionally, and financially. And I know that they do love me. They love me more than anyone else has in my entire life. I wish that love could be enough for me to be happy in a relationship. Tomorrow is really going to suck." Your spouse saying I'm asexual is a sledgehammer to the heart. Everything's gonna be okay. By the way, I need you to sign these papers. I'll let you know what the commenters are saying. Top comment with 3,500 likes reads, "Why on earth would you do this in secret and blindside them? If you love them so much, why wasn't this a discussion?" Others are saying that this must be rage bait due to how it reads. This person says, "I'm asexual myself, and most of us understand that sexual compatibility in relationships is important, and I don't begrudge them for seeking a divorce. However, I do think it was a dick move to blindside their spouse like that. They should have given it some time and then had another conversation about how they feel and been gentle but firm about wanting a divorce." I'm gonna be real with you guys. I disagree with all these people who think that this is being unnecessary and harsh. They're like, you need to give it more time. You need to give it more time. It's been 5 months. And before those 5 months of having to sit and marinate in, wow, I'm presumably young. This doesn't say any ages, but probably young. I would say probably in their 30s. I've been with my husband for 8 years. We're in our 30s. And having to make peace with the fact that you're just never going to have sex again, that's a lot to have to just accept. And it's definitely fair for your mind to change on that. I mean, it's been all these years, and they clearly they felt starved. They did not enjoy the time that they were going without it. And I also, maybe I should just have an asexual person on the show, or even a few different asexual people on the show to talk about this. But I do wonder what asexual people expect to happen. Like, do you just hope that your spouse will, like, convert to asexuality? Because I'm sure you know that's not how sexuality works. Because if it was, then you could simply become a sexual person. But you can't, can you, right? So So then how would you expect your partner to just accept no longer having sex again without any kind of discussion? It seems that the right thing to do is that you either tell them that they're allowed to get it elsewhere, or maybe you suggest the relationship ending. It's just, it is very selfish to ask your partner to just give up their sexuality in favor of yours, don't you think? I'm not saying that it's selfish to be asexual, but it's selfish to ask someone who is sexual to give that up for you. Just like it would be selfish of him to say, oh, well, I understand that you're not interested in this, but you need to give it to me anyway. That also would not work. That would not be okay. Someone said, who is saying anything about not having sex? The asexual person? I'm sorry, but no, once in a while, pity sex is not the same kind of sex that sexual people want. You know that, right? Come on, let's be honest about this. If someone is coming out to you as asexual, that's not them saying, but don't worry, we're still gonna have plenty of it. Come on, dude. Let's be for real about this. It's, yeah, there are asexual people who still do it, but the point is, in general, I don't like this. In general, this is not gonna be a thing for me. Pity sex ain't easy. It shouldn't even exist. Look, nothing makes a person who is actively sexual feel creepier than having a partner who obviously doesn't really want to do it, but is begrudgingly letting you. That's not the kind of sex anyone should ever want to have. If you refuse to accept that sex, you are a healthy, healed person, because you shouldn't even want to have sex with a person who's not enthusiastically consenting. And it really wears on you. It starts to make you feel like absolute crap about yourself when you feel like you're constantly preying on your partner, like you're constantly being a predator, making them do this thing that they don't want to do. That's horrible. While at the same time, if you do still retain any sense of confidence, knowing that you can still probably get some, but that you're trapped now, that you're not being allowed to, and for why. If my doctor told me, or if I made the choice to become a vegetarian, like, I'm not going to just tell my partner, like, oh, well, my doctor says I can't eat meat, or I've chosen not to eat meat, so you can't eat meat. You can agree that's selfish. You could say, like, hey, if you don't mind supporting me, I would love to try this new lifestyle. Do you think you can do this? That's a fair thing to ask. This person clearly brought it to their attention, and it's okay to be scared, but your fear of someone leaving you because you're no longer sexually compatible isn't a good enough reason for that person to stay with you. I, and it's just, I don't understand what waiting to file for the divorce would do. You're just extending the process. If you know that you want to divorce someone, You already know. You know you cannot live the rest of your life without sex. It's just not realistic. And you're sure not going to be with someone who's telling you you can't have sex with other people, even though they won't have sex with you, or they don't want to have sex with you, which is just as bad. Then you have every right to divorce, and you're not entitled to beating around the bush about it. Like, these people are not being realistic. Even if this person were to ease into it and say, listen, babe, I've been thinking a lot about your asexuality and I want us to stay friends. I want us to stay close, but I have to move on and try to find someone that I can share that part of my life with. And we have to start separating. Even if they had that discussion, what it's going to lead to is them trying to beg, trying to negotiate, maybe even trying to do things that they're not even comfortable with, which isn't fair. Like maybe trying to put out more even though they don't want to. Like it's putting everybody in a situation of basically torturing themselves for longer. This person's asexuality is not just going to go away. She's had 8 years to marinate on this, and she's decided this is the case. She's tried doing it, she's tried not doing it, and she decided that the latter is her preference. And his sexuality is not just going away. From what I understand about men, they tend to stay wanting to do that for quite some time. Tell me if I'm wrong. Interesting. Wow, this is an interesting comparison, but Jared says, I've been forced into retaking courses at university. It's called academic abuse. In doing so, my teachers and classmates killed my appetite to participate further. And that's exactly right. If she stayed and kept trying to push herself into doing this just to make the relationship work because they're both afraid of being alone, then she's just going to kill any sexuality she did have left and probably kill his, because when you're stuck in these relationships where you're made to feel like a creep and a predator every single time you try to initiate, that will destroy your sexual confidence in remarkable ways, as I'm sure some of you unfortunately are familiar with already. Personally, you just sort of expect to be cheated on. It's when they just leave with the new horny partner that sucks, and they always do. It's great when two asexuals find each other in the wild. I was just talking about this on a stream the other day, but I found this Reddit story I love. This guy goes, "Hey, is there something wrong with me? Because for 8.5 years of the 9 years that I've been with my wife, we just haven't had sex. Like we did it first, and then we just kind of stopped. We probably had sex like 5 times, and we just don't do it anymore. And we love each other. We travel, we do all this stuff together. And I ask her sometimes, hey, do you want to like go out and find someone to sleep with? Because I don't want you to be sexually unfulfilled. And she tells me over and over, and she doesn't care about that kind of thing. And is everything okay? And everyone's like, yeah, everything's great. You're just two asexual people. Congrats. Like, you found each other. This is the best case scenario. This is what asexuals dream of. You have it. That's amazing. I love that. Like, there's got to be an asexual dating app out there. But yes, when two asexuals find each other, that is just, mwah. Please, if only it could always be so easy. But that one's pretty rough. This one's pretty long, but I want to read this one. So, are you guys familiar with parental alienation? If you've been following The Dadvocate, I would certainly hope so. It's a big topic that I talk about a lot. But the basic concept of parental alienation is it occurs when one parent does everything in their power to keep a child either away from the other parent Or if they can't do that, if they're being legally compelled to at least let the other parent be involved, then they do everything they can to mentally and emotionally manipulate the child into believing that that other parent is bad, is less than, that they are doing this charity service by even letting this parent around them because they're so terrible. It gets deep. These people will often try to hide the child from the other parent. They will refuse to give them medical information, tell them when they're signed up for sports teams, not keep them posted of academic things. They basically just do not treat the other parent like a parent. They treat them like a charity case that they're being kind enough to even give any rights to. And it can happen a lot. And a lot of people think that it ends when the child turns 18. And sadly, that is not always the case. This is an Am I the A-hole story about parental alienation that is so bad that the child continues to be alienated even after their parent passed away. You'll see what I mean. Also, this was written by a teenager, a 17-year-old, and I always think it's so interesting and brave when these teens come online to kind of work through things in ways that are more mature, and that they're actually seeking guidance from adults on things that not a lot of teenagers have the words for. So I think that's really brave of this young man. Am I the a-hole for refusing to talk to my parents until they give me an honest answer to my question? I, a 17-year-old male, live with my parents and my younger siblings. We were very close until recently. My first mom died when I was 6 days old. She developed eclampsia in late stages of the pregnancy with me, and she never fully recovered from it. A few weeks later, my dad packed up and moved with me because he couldn't stay where they were planning a life together. This left her family behind. She has parents, siblings, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, and cousins who are always a very tight-knit family. My dad met my adoptive mom when I was 7 months old. Out of insecurity on my mom's part and a desire to forget the future he had planned with my mom, contact between my biological maternal side was limited to once a year. My mom didn't want to share the role of mom. She knew my family would want to talk about my mom around me and would want me to know that she existed, but she didn't want to feel like she was less of a true mom. And my dad has just never gotten over the pain of losing my mom, and he buries the past of her to cope. I don't fully understand why they couldn't put me first in that decision, but they didn't. The comments assume he didn't talk to her about it. Oh, you're coming in a little late there, but thank you so much for the super chat, though, Doom for Zombies. One thing that's interesting about this story so far is the way that he says, my first mom, and then discusses his adoptive mom, not stepmom, as my mom. I can tell that she's got him very well trained, can't you? That's what I'm getting out of this. That's not the ordinary language that kids use. They typically say like, oh, my biological mom, or, you know, my stepmom. But he's saying my first mom, and then this is my mom. This is mom, and then there's the one that came before her, but we don't talk about her. In fact, let's just call her Bruno, because we do not talk about first mom. Like, she's got this boy well trained. If even behind her back, knowing she's not reading it, he's still walking on eggshells to make sure that he uses the correct verbiage. Like, dude, this is a really unhealthy but sadly common mindset that some people who are not fully ready to take over the step-parent role can fall into. Like, I'm a stepmom, and I've never, like, felt like less of a mom or not a true mom, and I would have been okay with my stepson calling me Miss Lauren forever, but eventually he did choose to start calling me mom. Some of you may have disagreements about that. I can tell you his biological mom doesn't like it, and I did discourage it at first, but because it has been what he has consistently wanted, he has always wanted to be able to say mom and dad in the house. That's just his big dream. I am not gonna fight it. Sorry, it's been 10 years and that's still what he wants to call me. So even if you disagree with kids calling their step parents mom, I never asked him to. He wants to, so that's what he does. But I've never forced him to do it ever. If he quit doing it tomorrow, I would respect his decision. You know what I mean? I have a hard time relating to this mentality of like ownership and control. It's icky. My childhood was mostly happy. It had some negatives, like wishing I knew my family better or that I'd known my mom. Also, I wasn't accepted by my adopted mom's family, so that was always fun. Then I had more contact with my family. It started with texting, calling, and Zoom calls regularly, and then convincing my dad to let me go for a weekend here and there. He and my mom did not like it, and the decision confused my siblings too. I have loved getting to know them, and they have loved getting to know me. Grandparents' rights weren't an option for them because of that one visit a year, so seeing me more is a huge thing for them. My parents really started to let me know how much they disliked all this extra contact. My dad said it's painful, and my mom told me she feels less important because I'm chasing a relationship that ties to a mom I don't remember. Oh, gross. Okay. So your guys's the dad I can understand a bit more. The dad I can understand why maybe he's not super eager to have a relationship with these people because it is really painful. I'm not saying it's healthy, but I can at least understand his trauma point a little bit better. The stepmom, though, putting her own insecurities over a child's right to get to know the family they came from is colossally fucked. Absolute colossally fucked headspace. A couple of weeks ago, they told me I should think of them and my mom's feelings. I asked them how they would feel if they were in my mom's shoes or her family's shoes. If they died while their child was just a baby and they were erased by the spouse and his new spouse, would they be okay with that? And would they be okay if my siblings or I died with a newborn and they never got to be a real part of their lives? They refused to answer. I told them I didn't want to speak until they gave me an answer because they were being completely unfair to me. My parents are very angry about this, and my siblings asked me why I had to make this such a big deal. So I posed the question, if one of us died and we never got to see their only child, would they be okay with it? It helped them understand, but my parents don't like my no talking thing. But all they want to talk about is this topic, and yet they also won't give me an answer. So, am I the a-hole? No. This is a boundary, not an end of the relationship. You're giving your parents a chance to extend their relationship with you. All they have to do is explain themselves. That's all. They're making selfish, ego-driven demands that do not align with your mental health and the healthiest path for you. They're gonna have to explain themselves. It's that easy. If you want to talk to me, you simply have to show me a grain of intellectual consistency. Simply tell me, yeah, absolutely. If I died tomorrow, I would be 100% okay with you excluding my entire family from ever having a relationship with your kids. Just say that and then we can work this out. But there's a reason you won't say that. And instead of processing this hurdle here, this hurdle of you coming face to face with your own hypocrisy, instead of fighting that demon so that you can get back to having a healthy relationship with your son, the son that you're like, my son, this is my son. If this son is so important to you, if the role of you being his mom is so important, and he matters that much, then you should be able to set this minor ego thing aside so that you can keep being the mom. But pretty soon, you're going to completely lose that title. Because the child already has a mom. And always has. And always will. And your influence will never take away the existence of that mother that contributed 50% of the genetics. At least. Sometimes it's more. Sometimes the mom will give like 70% of the genetics, right? That's half of themselves. And now this piece is gone, but there are other pieces that exist that can help you learn about who they were and therefore who you are as a part of them. I can't tell you how many stories we hear about adopted kids who end up later on meeting their biological mother and they're like, whoa, we have way more in common than I ever had with my adopted parents. Why? Because Putnam squares are nothing to be f***ed with, y'all. It's a real science. You can't argue with genetics that hard, okay? Everyone heading out. Take it easy. We're going to be wrapping things up in about half an hour anyway. Feel free to come on back, watch whatever you missed later. You can always come on back to the My Library feature of YouTube if you just want to pick up where you left off. But we definitely have time for another one. Yeah, that one was majoritively voted, not the a-hole. But it's just sad. It's sad that people can successfully alienate you from your child past the point of you passing away, past the point of them being a legal adult, because you know this isn't going to stop when he turns 18. You know that when he becomes an adult, they're not going to offer him any more freedom or any less guilting for his decisions to want to see these people. They're always going to make him feel bad for wanting to see them. They're always going to make him feel like he's asking for too much, that his desires are out of line and stupid. They're going to gaslight this kid into fucking oblivion. And I don't say this often, but thank God for Reddit, because that at least in this situation, Reddit was able to save a kid from getting gaslit. So that's a big win. That's a big win. Also, yeah, I have kids. I don't know how you didn't know that, unless you're asking someone else in the chat. But yeah, I have a 15-year-old stepson and a 6-year-old daughter that I share with my husband. That is also from my husband. Became a stepmom, then he turned me into a bio mom. Fun stuff. Let's end on this note. This is a fun one. Let me see. Okay, there's the full post. All right. So getting into this story, I think that a very common issue in relationships, a very, very common problem between men and women, is the good old-fashioned, well, if you want me to do it, just ask, versus I shouldn't have to ask you. You know that old song and dance, right? Well, what if I told you that there was a woman out there who didn't have that expectation? She doesn't mind if a man asks. In fact, she won't even wait for you to ask. She's going to tell you everything that she wants you to do and how exactly in a list you need to behave to be a boyfriend for her. Isn't that great? Not all women come with a manual, but this one does. Just a straight up written step by step. If you want to date me, this is how to boyfriend. Right? Pros, cons? Let's learn a little bit more about this dating strategy. This was posted to True Off My Chest. My girlfriend gave me a list of things she expects from me being her boyfriend. We've been seeing each other for a while now, and it's time to make our relationship official. We are in our 20s, but my girlfriend told me that she doesn't settle for less due to the men in her family failing the women. Her requirements for a boyfriend, copied and pasted from iMessage that she sent me. 1. Open my car. Yes, even if I am driving. Open the driver's and the passenger door for me. 2. This is common sense, but nowadays you gotta remind men to be men, but always pay for our restaurant dates. It's embarrassing to make your girl pay. 3. I will not cook or clean for you. I am not your mom or your maid. I will not do any wifely duties at girlfriend prices. I am not like these other girls playing house with their boyfriends and baby daddies. I will not leave the security of my home to play house with you. I am not living with a guy that I'm only dating. I'm making this very clear since everyone does everything in a backwards order nowadays, and I don't move backwards. 5. I don't waste my time. I have goals to be a wife and a mother. I have a biological clock, and it is ticking. I give, at minimum, 8 months. If you can figure out I'm the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, and if you can't figure it out by then respectfully exit our relationship before the 8-month mark. 6. No other women can be in your life unless it is family, and maybe then I will still make a rare exception. Wait for the dogs to finish barking. A package may have arrived. Let me calm them down real quick. 1 second. I have to acknowledge what is here and then they'll be good. But thank you for telling me that people are walking their dogs. That was very important and special. Okay. Anyway, back to it. No other woman in the life. I don't mess with cheaters, and I'm not going to play clueless and stay wondering. Women and men can't be friends. We'll make exceptions if it's like a childhood friend from your home state and you guys barely talk and have just once in a while messages like happy birthday, and it will help if she's unattractive. Next, I'm not going to have sex with you if I don't feel like it. You already know that you are required to wear a condom. This is not going to change until we are married. I'm also on birth control, but that doesn't mean you get to she put out, but I think she meant pull out. I'm also on birth control, but that doesn't mean you get to pull out on me with your raw dick. I don't believe in abortions, and I'm protecting myself. I'm not going to let someone stick their bare inside of me when I'm not married. These are her main requirements she expects from her SO. I don't really have much trouble with the list. Most of this is going to take time for me to get used to, like opening someone's door, as I never do that. I can pay for dates. I have never not paid for a date before. I do have only one friend of the opposite gender back in my home state, but I don't think my girlfriend would be threatened by her because it falls under her rare exceptions. I guess I have an issue of her being demanding and just very straightforward is kind of a turnoff, and it does kind of suck that I have to keep wearing a condom. So I have to agree with the guy. Some of her asks are not at their core unreasonable. So if we dissect this, open the car door for her. I've actually covered a very similar one. I once covered a TikTok in the past where a girl had also set this boundary. I don't know if I can call this a boundary, but this is a thing now where girls are basically saying it's up there with like the orange pill. Orange pill? The orange pill. That's, oh my god, that's what mine is. You know how there's like the red pill, the blue pill, the white pill, the black pill? Dude, if you're watching The Dadvocate, you're getting orange pilled right now. That's so funny. Anyway, the orange peel theory, the ketchup test theory. There's going to continue to just be more and more and more of them. The goalposts will forever be moving, but this is just one of those things now of like, how can I test to ensure that he will be loyal and obedient? I know, opening the car door. This is how I will keep him in line. It's kind of just a superficial way of reminding men that they're whipped, in my opinion. There's no reason for someone to have to open the door for you. My daughter is 6 and has finally developed the strength that she needs to properly open and close the door fully, and is incredibly proud of it. And she's also very tiny. So if she can do it and be proud, you in your big age in your 20s can do it just fine. Whatever happened to like independent women either too? Like, don't you want to show off how proud you are? But nonetheless, it's a little thing, and if it was positioned as, because like the way you say things is everything so often. If she would have phrased it as, I love it when guys hold the door open for me. If I have a man who regularly goes out of his way to hold my car door open for me, I feel like such a princess. It makes me feel so good. Don't you think any guy would start doing that more naturally? Like, if your girl said that to you, wouldn't you start doing it? If she said it in that way and was like, oh my god, I love when this happens, it makes me feel so special, it literally, like, no one does it for me, it makes me feel amazing, like, I think most of you, if presented that way, would be like, dude, I can't wait until she gets out of that car, because I'm gonna be there, orange pill emote. Dude, yes. Orange pill emote. Don't let me forget that. It's the way she's phrasing everything though. Because a lot of these things I feel are overcorrections of childhood trauma. Like, of course, if you're a woman who grew up seeing the women in your life mistreated by men, you're going to have a higher guard. And I'm sure that you were raised in such a way of being like, avoid this, avoid that, don't tolerate this, don't tolerate that, which in a lot of ways is good and very healthy, right? Like, I feel that I was raised by both of my parents, both my mother and father, to be like, hey, do not tolerate this kind of stuff. This is not how you should be treated. You should not be settling for this or that, which helped a lot. But it's crossed the point of, well, I want to protect myself, so I'm going to have this list of reasonable boundaries, to I am going to slap every man that I date aggressively in the face with these entitled demands. That's kind of the territory that it's gone to. Like, the next one, the whole pay for the restaurant dates. This is a pretty unspoken rule for a lot of women. I think that if you're a man and you're dating, you probably do expect to pay for first dates when you go out. A lot of you probably have just accepted that this is a part of societal dating that is not likely to go away anytime soon. And a lot of women would be very unimpressed by a man asking to go Dutch on a first date, or worse, asking her to pay. So I think a lot of guys can accept this, but it's the entitled way she's saying it. She starts it in parentheses. This is common sense, but apparently men have to be reminded to be men. Which that added bite was not necessary because, as he said in the post, he has never not paid. There's never been a time that he's even suggested, oh, hey, as we get more serious, do you think maybe we could start splitting the bill? Or if every once in a blue moon you picked it up? He's not even so much as suggested that. So the attack on his masculinity here was pretty unnecessary. So again, like it's not a unfair ask entirely, although I would argue as we are approaching a world where most of us make as much or more than our husbands, it's becoming unfair to ask, to be honest. Then this next one. I will not cook or clean for you. This I can kind of understand if it was phrased as, and this is something that I have said to all of my partners, I will not be cleaning up after you. Every once in a blue moon, yeah, I'll take your plate when we're done with dinner because I'm already getting up and it's just a kind, nice thing to do for people that you like. But yeah, I've definitely made clear, like, just so you know, I'm not the kind of woman who's going to clean up after you. I am the kind of woman who will be reminding you that you need to clean up after yourself if you are not doing it on your own. There is no excuse for not cleaning up after yourself. However you decide to split general shared chores is totally up to you, but if you as a person eat out of a bowl, you as a person, you go wash that off. If you as a person spill food or something on the counter and it drips down the baseboards, that is not your wife's job to scrub after you. Of course, I agree with all of those things. Most good men also agree with that. They are willing to clean up after themselves and they agree it is their responsibility. There's a pretty big difference, though, between saying, just so you know, don't expect me to be like a nanny around your house. I will only be cleaning up after myself. I expect you to clean up after yourself, and only when we're more serious will we even be discussing equitable labor exchange. That's one way of phrasing it, but to say, like, I'm not playing house with you. Everything seems to just be so attacking. She's already treating him like the enemy, and honestly, the way that this list reads is as breakup insurance. And what I mean by that is I think that she's so afraid of things not working out with men because of her traumatic childhood that she's one of those I'm going to destroy this before you have a chance to types. Like, she has to blow everything up so that he can't. You know what I'm saying? And so this list is so great at that because he either agrees to it, which, like, great, now I can say I cracked the whip, I've got him to assimilate to my demands. Perfect, although, as I've said before, with people like this, the goalposts always keep moving, so this is only the start of the list if he agrees to it. But people like this, like, she's going to use this to basically say, if he dumps her over it, oh, well, he just wasn't able to meet my standard. He's just a pathetic loser who can't do these basic things. You see what I mean by she's got the emotional cushioning going to make sure that she makes it out of this looking good no matter what? The next one, she's talking about the 8-month agreement. Again, she could have phrased that nicer, but I don't necessarily think that the 8-month rule is a bad idea. If you don't have an idea at least by 8 months of dating if you think that you could see something long term with this person or not, they're probably not the right one for you. No, I feel like you should probably have at least some idea of that. And I think that is really smart, actually, to avoid wasting your time. You know, 8 months, that's a really long, graceful, charitable period to give someone who may not actually commit. Made a list of demands. Won't you be my hostage? Truly. She might as well just propose. Isn't she already like cuffing him though with this? Doing everything but getting down on one knee though. Cause basically it's so funny because if she would have phrased this kindly, I think a lot of guys would take it as a compliment. Cause they would see it as like, she wants me to be the husband, dude. She sees me as the husband. If this was phrased in a way that's like nice, like if she was like, hey, I can see us getting serious, but because of that, I want you to know that like this is like my 5-year plan. This is like what I would ideally want to see out of a husband. Like, do you think that you could fit these boxes? That's a really healthy conversation to have with a partner, I think. But the way she phrases this is so rude. Now we get to the one where it's a little bit less reasonable. No women can be in your life unless you barely talk and they're ugly. What's crazy though is I hear this from a lot of women. And what a crazy standard to set. Here's something too that these women need to know. What I'm about to say next is not nice and is scary, but I'm going to say it anyway. Ugly women blitzkrieg through absolute barricades of married men all the time. A woman being ugly will not save you if your man wants to cheat on you. The reason that men cheat is not because you're not pretty enough. That is the most uncommon reason that men cheat. The main reasons that men cheat are opportunity and lack of affection. When those two things come together, if they have an opportunity and they are receiving an absolute lack of affection, and this ugly bitch comes along, making them feel like an absolute 10 and willing to throw out the coochie, I guess it doesn't matter if I said coochie, same thing. Many weak-willed men will dive right in. Okay? And none of that's your responsibility. I'm just telling you, her being ugly isn't going to stop anything. Is this her list? Or is this list her trauma or gossip stories? It's truly like she's made a list based off of like specific things that have happened, it seems. Could you imagine no women are allowed in your life unless they're ugly? And I'm like, well, I guess you can stay. That's the thing too, is like what constitutes as ugly? Like, what if he wants to like hang out with this chick who's like absolutely fucking smoking, and she's like, no, you can't hang out with her, and he's like, why? I find her ugly. I think she's ugly. I think she's hideous. So I'm gonna go spend the night at her house. Right? That's not the thing you should be focusing on. I'm just, like, you know what I mean? If a man doesn't want to cheat on you, if a man is committed to you, the hotness of the women that he surrounds himself with is not the detail. If a man is committed to you, he can hang out with perfect 10s while talking about how much he can't wait to go home to you. That's what my husband does. My husband is around hot women pretty regularly. My husband introduces me to some of the hottest women I've ever met in my life, dude. And he talks about me nonstop with them. He talks to these hot women about how hot I am and how much he loves me. Okay? That's because I picked a good man, okay? As did you. As did you, lady. But then the other thing too, the having to wear a condom, that's also a perfectly reasonable ask. I think that, but I see what she means by her straightforwardness is a turnoff. Look, I think most men are going to understand and respect you when you say, I need to protect myself. We need to practice safe sex. Beautiful. Not enough people in the world saying that at all. Okay? But to say, like, you don't get to pull out of me with your raw dick. I'm not letting your bare dick anywhere near me. Like, that's not the cutest language, right? It's just not that cute. I love that this dude, his whole ending thought is like, man, it's gonna suck having to wear a condom. Like, you know what sucks more than having to wear a condom? Having a really entitled, bratty girlfriend who turns every basic sentence into a condescending attack. Rubber feels 10 times better, my dude. Why is she condescending you so hard? I don't think this is a woman who can have a conversation with a man without talking down to him, to be honest. There's a lot of women like this. It is. It's needlessly adversarial. There are more red flags here than China's 70th anniversary of communism. Relationship hack for women. Men, do not like atoning for the sins of your exes. Dude, yes, Cameron. That might have to be my next woman-splaining video, actually. Let me just, like, make a little note to self on that. Atoning for sins of exes. Yeah, that is such a big one. Most men are willing to hear you out and understand if you tell them, like, hey, I just want you to know I've been through some stuff in the past. I had a guy lay hands on me before, so fast movements might cause me to flinch. Me personally, I've had to explain to my husband, like, hey, I've experienced knife violence, to say the least, from an ex. Won't go too into the trauma of that, but many scars. And so men holding knives and like fast movements with men holding knives, sometimes I'm just too uncomfortable about it. It's not an insult to you. I just prefer to not be in the same room as men using knives. It's just a personal thing. I think like every guy that I've ever dated has understood that. And many have, gone out of their way to make sure that they don't handle knives around me, or they're not making like quick movements, and that they don't like make jokes about beating me. Most guys are very considerate about that. But when you do things like, hey, you can't use that knife around me, that's really shitty, because at some point you do have to take accountability for your own trauma. At some point you have to take responsibility for not treating every single person like they're going to do the same thing to you. You don't get to tell your boyfriend, like, well, I've been cheated on in the past, so I get to regularly go through all of your social media and pick apart everything. Like, no, you don't. You have to heal. You're not entitled to unhealthy behaviors just because of your trauma. No, I'm sorry. And I genuinely am sorry, because again, much like this woman, like, it's a lot to grow up with no healthy father or masculine figures in your life. Like, your own dad is a fuck up, your uncles are all fuck ups, every man that's ever been in all of these women's lives has screwed them over. Of course, that's going to leave you really messed up and with some trust issues and maybe even with some internalized misinjury that you're going to have to work out. But it's your responsibility to start working that out. Do have boundaries, do have lists of things that you're looking for, as well as lists of things that you will not concede on. Those are good. But do not treat every person that you date or give a chance as the same kind of worst person who caused all of these burdens to other people in your lives. It's just not fair, right? The same way as you wouldn't want to be treated like every awful woman that he's experienced. Because one thing we women might not like to admit is that we have also caused a lot of harm in men's life. We like to sweep that under the rug by reminding everybody, well, women don't cause as much violence. Women don't actually hit men as much. Okay, but you don't have to lay a finger on somebody actually to cause lifelong harm. You don't have to weigh more than 100 pounds to gaslight the shit out of someone until they're questioning their own reality. You don't have to lift any weights at all to threaten someone enough times that you're just going to leave for someone more attractive to eviscerate their self-confidence. You don't have to be a man to cause irreversible harm. And on that note, I'm going to read this one last super chat. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to start heading out to get my kid. I mean, unfortunately for you, fortunately for me, though, because I really like my kid. Let's see. Do I want to wait for the super chat? All right, I'm just going to read it. Zachary Pearson says, if you want your partner to do or not do something, you have to follow that rule as well. I agree for the most part. What's interesting is I was just talking to my husband about how you don't necessarily have to be the same thing that you're looking for in a partner. Like certain rules, yes. So like if I tell my husband I don't want you hanging out one-on-one with uh women who share the same sexuality as you, right? Then I would be a huge flaming hypocrite if I went and hung out with some dude who's attracted to women. Absolutely. But one regard that we were talking about this was on my most recent video called My Husband Sissy Trapped Me. One person was trying to argue, well, don't you think it's hypocritical of her that she went into this relationship saying, well, I'm really feminine and I like to be the sub, but then telling her husband that he can't be feminine and be the sub? And I'm like, no, I don't think that that is hypocritical, because it's pretty normal, I would say, to want certain qualities in a partner that you don't necessarily have in yourself. We don't want to date carbon copies of ourselves. Like me as a 4'11", $115, $120 woman, I have always preferred a partner who can lift heavier things than me and reach things that I cannot ideally. This does not mean that I have needed some 6 foot tall super giga chad. However, I don't think it's wrong or hypocritical of me to say that I would prefer a partner who is larger and can lift more than me, right? Also, I'm in the same genre as like I would prefer more often to be the more submissive one in the relationship. And subs aren't hypocritical for wanting doms. That's crazy. Oh, shush, Lauren, you dated a 6'8" dude, and I regularly discuss what a mistake that was. Okay? Also, I did not know that he was 6'8" when I agreed to the date. I thought that his puns were good and he had great wordplay, and then I show up and I'm like, Jesus, this isn't gonna be compatible. This is how we would kiss, y'all. Dude, like, ends the date and gives me one of these. Yeah. I barely even count that like dating because it was like never official. I just like went on maybe like 2 or 3 dates with a 6'8" person. And I think by like the second and the third date, we were mostly, I think we both were like, this is silly and funny. Let's just do it for the lulz. Like, I don't think either of us saw it going anywhere once we actually met in person and realized, like, we're not even the same race. You're a giant and I'm a dwarf. Neo Wolf says, I'll take him. Actually, I think he is single now. I think he's back on the market, so 6'8" guy, if you're watching this, I will wingman for you. I already told them that you have amazing wordplay and puns, okay? I got your back, brother. I could safely say that if the majority of my exes weren't already like wifed up and doing well for themselves, I would wingman for them. Just not the stabby one. Sorry. Can't wingman for the stabby one. All the rest of you, though, great guys. On that note, I'm gonna get out of here. I do have, I don't know if you saw it, I have a new womansplaining compilation here on my YouTube channel, so go watch that if you haven't already. I might film some stuff for you this weekend, but I got more coming your way. We'll do a couple more lives next week. Keep your submissions coming. Send them to lauren@dadvocate.net if there's anything that you really want me to react to. And I will usually respond and let you know if I will be reacting to it and in which live, so that you either don't miss it or can go back and watch it later. If you haven't already, please hit like right down below. Hit like on the video, hit sub. Make sure that your notification bell is turned on so that you can be aware of all of these things. It really, really, really helps my channel grow, which is awesome because, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I'm saving up for at the moment. The biggest one right now is at the end of April, I am trying to get down to the South Carolina push for 50-50 equal shared parenting legislation. I will have the chance to speak if I can get down there, and I know that I can articulate this legislation in a way that we can really sell people on. And I think that just my presence, I hate to brag about this, but my presence as a biological mother is really important to these discussions. So all of your contributions that can help me get to South Carolina at the end of April is going to help for more 50-50 equal shared parenting legislation push, which at the end of the day is the main thing that I'm trying to do with this channel. I love being entertaining. I love having fun with you guys. But at the end of the day, I need to be in front of legislators so that we can actually make impactful changes that get children with their parents. So my foot is not getting off the gas pedal. We are going to get to South Carolina. We are going to keep making it all across to various different states until we are straight up at Washington, D.C., at the White House, talking to the damn president about this shit, because I'm not shutting up about it. All that being said, I gotta go. Funnily, Lauren would drown in a shallow pool, though. Guys, yeah, I'm very kidnappable. Okay. This is why we keep the big dogs. All right. I love you guys. The stream has been so much fun. This is the first time I think I've ever done 3 live streams in 1 week. So if you like it, make sure you leave a lot of love down below, and I will definitely consider doing this again. 2 times a week is the goal. But okay, I gotta get going out of here.